Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and this is Dungelot Shattered Lands. $9.99 came out in the Steam store on February 18th. It does have a 15% discount until February 25th during its promotional period. It has zombie cows, friendly vampires, and pop culture references all over the place. It's a self-described Minesweeper roguelike mashup, and while there is some truth to that, I don't think it does the best job of describing the gameplay in question. If anyone has played Runestone Keeper, this game is pretty much the same as that. You reveal tiles, you try to make it further and further into the dungeon, so on and so forth. Now, before I critically cover this game, I want to make sure you guys know that this key was obtained from the publisher for the purposes of review. That won't change my opinion in the end, but you should know that because of FTC guidelines, as well as the whole morals thing, you know? Alright, this is the start of Act 3, and I need to defeat that boss. In order for me to defeat the boss, I need to find the key for his tower, which is somewhere in this general area. Now, in order for me to unlock that general area, I need to defeat dungeons, this dungeon in particular, which will make branching paths for me. These branching paths will have different options in terms of the loot I get. Now, we've got the Sandy Tomb here. I've got a bat and a target dummy as some example enemies, and the heroes that have made progress on this dungeon, aka beaten it. Now, I'm playing as the paladin, but I've also unlocked the vampire and the mage. The reward is a skill book which will help up my stats. There's 20 floors, and the threat is about average, so I should be able to defeat this with no problem. Here we have the zombie cow, which I defeated in Act 1, so he's sorta dead. Well, he was dead. Never mind. Alright, we've entered the first floor of the dungeon. Now, in order to get down to the end of the dungeon, I need to go through these doors. In order to get through the door, I need to find the key for that floor. That's hidden somewhere in these tiles over here. At the start, I can only look at the tiles next to the door, but as I click on tiles, I'm able to unlock more tiles to take a look at. Now, these tiles may have secrets in them, coins, enemies, or the key in question, or bats that just sort of fly at you in that case. Now, luckily in this first attempt, I find the key right away, but I don't go through the door yet just because I want to show you guys a little bit more of the game in question before I go on. Alright, I continue clicking along the tiles here trying to find something, and lo and behold, I find a skeleton. Now, the skeleton's a basic enemy. I can find some status about him, his attack power, his health power, what he's weak to in terms of elemental damage, and of course his traits. The traits are the more important ones because they have the special effects, but let's just start beating on him. Left click on him, beat him with a hammer, he's dead. Simple enough, right? Now, my hero does have stats associated with him: health, attack power, and armor. Armor is basically a layer above health. That's taken off first before going to the health in question. It's a little bit replenishable, but not as replenishable as health. So as a paladin, I want to smite everything that I come across, right? Well, hold on a second, that's not actually the case. Take this ogre, for example. Now, this ogre has a lot of health, and you'll notice the red X next to him. If I was trying to get to that tile, in particular, maybe the key is there, I have to go through him before it's able to be revealed. So I actually have to kill him in this case. But since I got the key, I don't actually have to attack him, and in fact, it's beneficial for me not to attack him. That's where the Minesweeper comparison comes in. I don't actually want to kill enemies if I don't have to. The thing is that they'll just take off my health, they'll take off the damage, and usually they don't give me a reward of any sort unless if they're an elite enemy. Now, there will also be traps. For example, this chain chomp here. Yes, it's a chain chomp. I'm not going to call it anything else. Now, if I try to touch anything above or below him, or to the left and right of him, he's going to hit me for a lot of health damage. But I can actually get rid of him by revealing other tiles, taking down the counter that's right there. Alright, I smack him in the face with my hammer, and lo and behold, he dies, revealing a treasure chest and an item. Now, the treasure chest will have a lot of things in it, right? It's got 3 coins. The floor bonus isn't really worth it, and if it was worth it a little bit more, there'd be more reasons to go after it, but most of the time it just gives you barely any coins in the big picture. Now, this item I get will be used a little bit later on in the crafting system, but let's go on to the next floor. Now, the uniqueness of each enemy comes through their traits. For example, this kobold here gets a little bit more powerful if there are dungeon blocks next to him that haven't been broken, so I have to deal with him in a special way, unless if I really want to take a lot of damage. 4 damage this early on, probably not a good thing. The best way for me to deal with him is through items. Items are very powerful in this game, in particular with the fact that enemies don't attack me if I use an item on them, with rare exceptions, aka a trait about it. Now, I can make a Berserker potion, I can make a Shift potion, but the Enchanted Firebomb is what I'm looking for here, to deal damage directly to him and maybe cause a burn status effect. With the bomb crafted, I'm going to exit out of this menu, go to my bag, use the item on him, he will be dead, everything will be hunky-dory in terms of me continuing on. Now, the one other major mechanic I have to take into account is my food. On the top there you see the piece of meat, and it's got 3. For every floor I go to, I will eat a piece of meat, so I will need to get food supply in order to go deeper and deeper into the dungeon, or I'll start to starve, taking health damage. So I do actually have to take a look at the tiles in question, hoping to find food or equivalent items. Now, you do have skills that can help you, and those are found via items in the dungeon. Those are things like being able to stun an enemy, being able to heal yourself, being able to attack first, because enemies always attack you first. Now, your skills are based on the hero in question. The mage is a little bit more reliant on her skills to do the attack damage, while the paladin's a little bit more balanced. Now, I did find an ancient crypt here. You will find these, random events and things like that, and they can give you boons, or they can really screw you over. In this case, this really screws me over. I lose morale, I lose HP, and I eventually get something out of it, but it's a small shield, and I have a two-handed weapon. Morale can hurt you a lot in this game, so for example, 20% chance the hero will skip a turn. That's huge, especially because of the whole damage thing. Now, you have limited inventory space, and so I'm actually going to get rid of a Sharpstone and use it to get that shield. But why do I need the shield? The fact is I can't equip it because I have a two-handed weapon. Well, I can use it in one other way. That shield salvage can turn into mana, and that mana is used to charge your skills that you find. So let's say that you have a heal spell that would have done 2% of your health overall. Well, with that charge, it may turn into 6, 8, 10% of your overall health. So it's a significant boost to your spells in question. Alright, so those are the major mechanics in terms of gameplay. But how does it work in an overall sense? Well, it sort of works. From the puzzle aspect, it works. Basically, the idea here is I try to find the shortest path to the key, get as many items as I can without touching a single enemy. But the thing is that with that puzzle element, it becomes very one-dimensional. All the variety of enemies, all the variety of traps and things like that, they become second fiddle to this sort of puzzle element, and honestly, it becomes very repetitive very quickly. It's where the strategy part of the game falls apart. The thing is that you'd think the small playing field would help this in terms of if an enemy is discovered, he would take up, 2/25 of the field, like with that bug right there, and that would make a significant difference. But 2/3 of the time, I could find the key without having to touch a single enemy, and that means it became repetitive. Okay, find the key. Okay, find the key. Oh, this situation, I actually have to do something because I can't advance. Alright, now I've got to put the strategy into play. I just didn't like the fact that the combat was so second fiddle to everything else here. The thing is that I don't want to attack enemies. There's no bonus for me to go after them. Now take a game like Runestone Keeper. There were definitely situations where I just wanted to get to the next floor. But because those enemies gave me experience, because they dropped items at a significant rate, there were reasons for me to kill those enemies. Here, not so much. That combination of different mechanics, plus the fact that the content isn't necessarily there for a roguelite, becomes a major issue for the game. The thing is that roguelikes do very well when it has a one more run mentality. Now, this isn't even a roguelike, this is a roguelite because you start with, a certain set of skills, you don't start from zero per se. Then you start looking at the content of the game. There's only about 8 weapons in total for each hero. There's only 4 skills per hero, 4 heroes, 6 item slots in question. It starts to run out very quickly. Now compare that to a game like Runestone Keeper. Yeah, it's only got 5 heroes, but a lot more skills that you can buy, a lot more variety in terms of enemies, a lot more strategy when it comes to actually playing the game. And that's where Dungelot doesn't do well, especially on the Steam platform. In terms of gameplay complexity, it just doesn't compare to equivalent priced games such as Runestone Keeper, at least in the gameplay category. Now aesthetically, the game blows most of those other games out of the water. The art is crisp, the art is colorful, the designs are rather nice, even if several of them have been borrowed from other games of the genre. You know, that looks like a chain chomp in several ways. There are a lot of Hearthstone references that I can see here, things like the target dummy here, for example. Yeah, we've seen that before in other games, but I felt like I was playing part Hearthstone with things like polymorph and things like that. Even with my complaints, the puzzle aspect still works, but there's one big issue that I need to address here. The Steam version of the game is $9.99. The iOS version of the game, $3.99. Alright, the Steam version is a lot more expensive than the iOS version, but the price increase has to mean that there's more features here, right? There's more improvements. Right? Wrong. There's nothing really added here of any value. For example, on the left and right there are those black bars on the side. It's clear that this game had a mobile platform in mind with the screen being so shrunk. The thing is here, there's a lot of space that's unused. There's also no keyboard controls, which bothers me a lot. The things like the items, for example, would have been a lot easier to use if I had a hotkey bound to the item first slot, the item second slot. Instead, I had to go through the menus, go through the item, use the item, and then if I had multiple items to use and it didn't give me the multiple item prompt, I had to use it one by one by one. It got very old very fast, especially with the fact that items are so critical in this game. Hell, even for the mobile platform, the skills have their own little space over there. Why not shrink the bag a little bit and be able to put the items in question, or put the items just right there without the bag at all? I don't understand this decision making, and it makes the game more complicated than it needs to be. I can't recommend the Steam version for this game. It is not optimized to play with this particular control set. Now, for the iOS platform, I can see the puzzle aspect of Dungelot working for some people. It's not necessarily for me. I'd prefer games like Runestone Keeper or Puzzles and Dragons, but for some people, the nice aesthetic and the puzzle elements will work for them, and you may want to take a look for it if you have an iOS platform. But other than that, this is a pass for me. Alright, this is Dragnix signing out. Next week is going to be crazy because I've got about 5 or 6 games in the queue because I've got keys for games releasing or coming out of early access, so on and so forth, on top of the Danganronpa vote that you guys had. So, it's going to be a crazy week, but, you know, hopefully I'll be able to fit it all in. Alright, I'll see you all later. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, hit that like button, maybe share it with a friend. I write an appropriate Steam review that you can find in the description below for games on Steam, and I'll respond to any comments below regarding questions about the game and feedback about the video. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button, and you can check out my last video in the top left and a related video in the top right. You want to keep this channel running as well? Then consider supporting my work on Patreon, which you can find in the description below, along with my Google Plus page, Facebook group, and Twitter handle. This is Dragnix signing out, and keep on gaming.